Drew Allar did not win the Steelers' starting job in one preseason game. He did not pass Aaron Rodgers, and Pittsburgh has not announced any change behind Rodgers on the depth chart. But Allar did something that matters. In his first NFL game action, the rookie turned 3 consecutive possessions into touchdowns and made Pittsburgh's long-term quarterback evaluation much more interesting. The finalized official gamebook lists Allar at 10 of 13 for 153 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and no interceptions. He also scored on a 3-yard read option keeper as Pittsburgh defeated Green Bay 28-9. Allar entered in the third quarter with the Steelers trailing 9-7. By the time his work was finished, Pittsburgh had a 28-9 lead. Pittsburgh Steelers official gamebook. Please open your app to see this link. That is an impressive debut. But the important question is not whether Allar has already become Pittsburgh's next starting quarterback. It is whether this performance gave the Steelers their first meaningful NFL evidence that he could eventually compete for that role. Allar's first possession produced the play everyone will remember. He connected with fellow rookie Caden Wetchen for 74 yards, putting Pittsburgh at the Green Bay 3-yard line. 2 plays later, Allar kept the ball and scored. That long completion accounted for almost half of his passing yardage, so it has to be placed in context. Wetchen created separation and generated significant yardage after the catch. One explosive play cannot establish that Allar is ready to run an NFL offense. What happened afterward was more valuable. On Pittsburgh's next possession, Allar directed a 10-play, 89-yard touchdown drive. He finished it with a 5-yard scoring pass to Wetchen. Then he led another 10-play drive, this one covering 60 yards, and found Riley Nowakowski for a 4-yard touchdown. The explosive play announced Allar's arrival. The 2 extended drives made the performance worth analyzing. He did not simply enter against late-game personnel, hit one big pass, and disappear. He followed the splash play by sustaining possessions, moving the offense through shorter gains, and completing both drives in the red zone. The Steelers scored touchdowns on all 3 of Allar's meaningful possessions. That does not prove advanced processing and pocket mastery or complete command of Mike McCarthy's offense. A box score cannot tell us exactly how quickly Allar moved through every progression, and preseason coverage does not provide enough evidence to make broad conclusions about his mechanics. The defensible takeaway is more practical. Allar handled the operation, avoided turnovers, and converted opportunities into touchdowns. That matters because Pittsburgh drafted him 76th overall in the 3rd round. The Steelers were not selecting a finished quarterback. Quarterbacks coach Tom Arth praised Allar's arm talent after the draft while describing his development as something the team would continue building inside McCarthy's quarterback program. Steelers official Allar draft profile. Please open your app to see this link. Before the preseason, Allar had also discussed adapting to different under-center drops and footwork after playing primarily from other structures at Penn State. One exhibition game cannot complete that transition, but it gives Pittsburgh a real performance to compare with his work in practice. The complication for the Steelers is that Allar was not their only quarterback who played well. Mason Rudolph completed 10 of 11 passes for 93 yards. His opening possession went 3 and out, but his next drive lasted 16 plays and moved deep into Green Bay territory before Pittsburgh was stopped. Rudolph offered exactly what a veteran backup is supposed to offer: efficient execution and operational stability. Will Howard completed 7 of 9 passes for 86 yards. His most important sequence came late in the first half when he directed an 8-play, 80-yard touchdown drive in 1 minute and 53 seconds. Howard connected with Robert Tonyan 3 consecutive times during that possession before Lou Nichols scored from 1 yard out. Steelers official game recap. Please open your app to see this link. Together, Rudolph, Howard, and Allar completed 27 of 33 passes for 332 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. That is why this cannot be reduced to Allar suddenly overtaking everybody. Each quarterback currently serves a different purpose. Rodgers is the established starter. He was held out against Green Bay, and nothing Allar did against preseason personnel changes Rodgers' role by itself. Rodgers has said the 2026 season will be his final year, making Pittsburgh's immediate and long-term quarterback questions related but separate. Rudolph represents experience. He has started NFL games and gives Pittsburgh a veteran option if Rodgers is unavailable. Howard is a second-year developmental quarterback whose first preseason was erased by a finger injury. Against Green Bay, he finally received an extended exhibition opportunity and responded with an efficient 2-minute drive. Allar is the newest and highest drafted developmental investment in the room. His debut gave the Steelers a reason to increase the difficulty of his evaluation, but not a reason to skip the evaluation entirely. Pittsburgh now has to answer 2 questions. Who is best prepared to back up Rodgers this season? And which young quarterback offers the strongest path beyond Rodgers? Those questions do not necessarily produce the same answer. Rudolph's experience could make him the safest short-term backup. Howard's year inside the organization and successful first-game action strengthen his developmental case. Allar's draft status and 3-touchdown debut make it extremely difficult to treat him as an expendable 4th option. McCarthy acknowledged the roster problem earlier in the offseason. He said the Steelers had 4 quarterbacks they valued and joked about needing the active roster expanded to 55 players so Pittsburgh could retain all 4. He also explained that Rudolph's experience placed him in a different category while Howard was initially ahead of Allar because Howard had already spent a year with the organization. McCarthy's previous quarterback room comments, please open your app to see this link, that context is critical because one preseason performance should not erase months of work, but it can influence what happens next. The clearest signal will be how McCarthy distributes repetitions before and during Pittsburgh's second preseason game. If Allar begins receiving earlier opportunities or more work against stronger personnel, that would indicate the Steelers want a more demanding evaluation. It still would not automatically mean a promotion. The limitation is obvious. This was one exhibition game, and much of Allar's work came against players competing for reserve roles. Pittsburgh also committed 11 penalties for 134 yards, showing how disjointed preseason football can be. The Packers' changing personnel, simplified game plans, and Allar's 74-yard completion all make the raw numbers look cleaner than the evaluation really is. But preseason context works in both directions. Allar was also playing with Pittsburgh's developmental personnel. He could only execute the offense he was given against the defense placed in front of him, and he executed it well enough to produce 3 straight touchdowns. The Steelers host the New York Jets on August 21st before finishing the preseason at Buffalo on August 27. Those games should provide the next useful evidence, especially if Allar's workload or placement in the rotation changes. Steelers' official 2026 schedule. Please open your app to see this link. Allar did not win the backup job against Green Bay. He did not settle Pittsburgh's depth chart, and he certainly did not threaten Rodgers' starting position. What he did was strengthen his case for a serious place in the Steelers' future. Pittsburgh entered the preseason with 1 established starter, 1 experienced backup, and 2 developmental quarterbacks. It left the first game with the same structure, but with considerably more evidence that its newest quarterback belongs in the conversation. The debut did not crown Pittsburgh's next starting quarterback. It ensured that the search now has another legitimate candidate.